See, there's a sequel. Wasn't as good.
Well, I know it's not exactly new at this point, but the series is still quite relevant, so it's about time I get this out there. Last of Us Part 2 really shouldn't have been made. I hate this game. I, with a passion, despise this game. I tried to be transparent with stuff like God of War. I made an attempt to see both sides when it comes to famous franchises such as Elden Ring, but The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the most blatant examples of a game not being allowed to fail. It's that simple. It's an absolute masterpiece. If you don't like it, you have bad taste, and whatever you see as negative is really just the game being dark and you just don't get it. I want to make two things clear before we get into this. One, I love the first game. I wouldn't say 10 out of 10. I don't think the gameplay is perfect, but it's one of the best narratives ever told in gaming history, and the balance between that and actually playing it is done real well. Speaking of actually playing it, that's the other thing I want to make clear. The Last of Us Part 2 may have improved gameplay, in fact it's quite good, but regardless of how transcending you may think the story is, the game definitely fails in the walking simulator category.
It's time consuming.
I really don't like saying that as it's used so often, but it's undeniably true. I don't care how bad a narrative is as long as the game is fun, but in this case you spend too much time watching cutscenes, no, walking while listening to dialogue doesn't count, and the gameplay doesn't really do a whole lot to update as the game progresses. Aside from one unique boss that comes in at the latter half, you've basically seen everything the game has to offer way before the halfway point. So, given the improved gameplay can't save it, it really comes down to how good the story is. We already know balancing it was not a concern, but could the narrative itself be enough to at least justify the $60 you may have spent on this?
No. Of course. No.
I find it hard to believe that even Neil Druckmann thought this was a good idea, as everything that made the first game so unique and memorable is completely absent here. It goes without saying it probably shouldn't have been made. Granted, it's definitely possible to do it right, but in this case, they didn't even try. I'm not going to go through every detail like I did with God of War, as I find that to be a bit tiring, but I am going to be covering the main points that make up the game's excuse for a follow-up. The first being a quick recap of the previous game, in which Joel realizes the cure to save humanity lies in his surrogate daughter Ellie, but extracting the cure would mean her death, and not being okay with that, he decides to massacre the Fireflies. In the process, killing a lot of innocent people, including doctors, and not to mention anybody from that point on who dies due to the zombie apocalypse. He also blatantly lies about it, telling her the cure didn't work, while it's hinted at that Ellie may know the truth. That's the reason I didn't see a sequel being the best idea. Like I said, it definitely can be done, but you'd really have to address this and look at it realistically. Instead, the first thing we see is Joel telling his brother Tommy about this, with his response being,
That's a lot.
So right offhand, we have one of the biggest problems with this narrative. The fact that Joel is an anti-hero, along with another anti-hero that will soon be formed, is not treated the way it should be. Tommy is one of many characters who will question none of these actions, despite the fact that it involves the murder of innocent people, and the fact that it was primarily for self-benefit. Let's face it, he didn't tell Ellie about it for a reason. Despite the first game implying that Ellie knew, this game makes it clear that's not the case, and the fact that she would have probably been okay with dying to save humanity is more than apparent. Look, I don't expect Tommy to pull a gun on him, but given his personality established in the previous game, this just doesn't make sense. You can give Joel a slight pass given it's his surrogate daughter, and by slight pass I mean slight, but Tommy should at least be giving some thought to the body count that's racked up since then. This is an issue we're by no means done with. Now, another interesting thing about Neil Druckmann, aside from supposedly crying over his own game, is lying to his fans. I've heard a lot of people give him a pass on this for some reason, and there's a more infamous moment coming later, but the fact that we solely play as Ellie in this game, like Druckmann said, is not true. We actually spend half the game playing as Abby, the true protagonist in my opinion, and why he felt the need to lie about this, I don't know. What I do know is Abby and Ellie are given some very unique character traits. Let me show you what at least should have gone down as one of Naughty Dog's finest moments.
What you got there?
Bigot sandwiches.
Smells good.
So to put this into better context, Ellie is in fact a lesbian. That's not a new thing, it was established in the Left Behind DLC, but what the scene essentially shows off is if you say something offensive, there is no going back. Yes, we do eventually find out what he said, but the fact that even in a zombie apocalypse, forgiveness is still not a thing, well, it's kinda pathetic. As for Abby, the character we currently don't know much about, you may notice she's a bit buff. This is so stupid. Yes, if a female character is white and straight, they must be fucking ugly to rectify that. If you've been following any of the Stellar Blade controversy, this should come as no surprise. This is not because muscular women are cool, it's because men getting off on video games is something Sony doesn't like. If you thought it would affect the plot in some way, it honestly changes nothing. Her character is not terribly written, I'll give it that. But when you do this stuff deliberately, and given what we've seen recently, that's a fact, not an opinion, the stupidity of this is hard to overlook. It's not even close to the game's biggest issue, but I'm not gonna pretend it's not there. There are a few other notable characters, being Owen, Abby's ex-lover, the only relevant man in the game really, Dina, Ellie's lover, I'd hardly call her relevant, Jesse, Dina's ex-lover, he's Asian, you shouldn't expect much, and Mel, Owen's incredibly ugly new lover. The rest don't matter in the slightest. Well, aside from Joel, obviously, so let's just get to the most controversial thing in the game. After a little intro showing off the game's setting and the fact that Abby is trying to do something, Joel and Tommy inevitably end up saving Abby, which is understandable, but then they casually ride into her domain because Joel's a fucking retard in this game, and we find out that Abby wants her dead. Okay, so on one hand, I'll admit this was impactful. Despite his leg being almost blown off, I found it very hard to believe Joel was going to die, and only until seeing his grave did I truly accept that. A lot of other people were way less happy about this, going as far as to threaten the actress. What's wrong with people? And I wholeheartedly believe this was a big mistake, probably the biggest in a game full of terrible ideas, but not for the reason the fanboys say. For them, it's simply, we like Joel, he's gone, so game ruined, but that's kind of ridiculous. When it comes to killing off characters people really like in games, and anything for that matter, it's not something that should solely be done for the sake of shock value. I'm not saying that's the only reason behind this, but let's look at what this gives us and what it should have been. What we have now is a revenge plot, that's all this will be, and regardless of how good this could be done, which, spoiler, it won't, that, to me, doesn't justify the sequel. It definitely doesn't justify changing the narrative that I believe the old game set, being Ellie kind of knew what Joel did, and even though we will learn a bit more about what happened between Joel and Ellie before this moment a bit later, making the plot of the game avenging Joel simply doesn't work. The reason I say that, the reason I'll always stand by that, is because Joel kind of got what he deserved. I get it was an impossible decision, but he killed innocent people, allowed the apocalypse to keep going, and wasn't really good before that either. Keep in mind, Ellie would have made the decision to give her a life, that's confirmed later. It's apparent that he knew that, and given that he blatantly lied about it, I just don't see feeling bad for him. To me, Neil Druckmann was counting on the fact that people really like Joel, but if you take that out of the equation, if you exclude the fact that Joel is one of Sony's most beloved characters, would you really feel the same way? A lot of you might be thinking, well, it's a game, we're not gonna look at it realistically, we don't care about right and wrong, and that would be acceptable if it wasn't the game so obsessed with realism and storytelling that we're given an obsessive amount of it. If I'm gonna spend this much time time walking and watching cutscenes over a game's overhyped narrative, then that narrative has to make sense and it has to be compelling. Avenging somebody who massacred innocent people is not compelling to me, and despite how much I like Joel, I didn't mind seeing him get his comeuppance.
That's blasphemy! Sacrilege!
I don't by any means think Joel deserved a happy ending, but I still don't think it should have been done this way. Like I said, we'll get to what happens between him and Ellie later, but spoiler, again, it's not how it should have gone down. I would have much preferred if Joel had lived, but actually had to face what he's done and live a life of desolation and loneliness because of it. That may sound harsh, but considering what he did, I don't think it is. Instead, using him for a cliche revenge plot is the worst way they could have done it. Considering how memorable and unique the first game was, it's a big step down, and as we're given more details on this, it only gets worse. Another thing to note is that Abby is the only reason Ellie and Tommy are not executed, and to me that's kind of an important detail when we eventually find out she really didn't have to do that. In fact, given she has no way of knowing that Ellie isn't completely innocent, it's kind of commendable. So anyway, they of course set out to kill Abby. Not together, Tommy leaves by himself separately, but she does take Dina along, because why not? And after killing a number of people who witnessed Joel's death, two of which I don't think even had voice actors, we have our first moment of complete utter nonsense when we find out that Dina is pregnant.
Don't worry, it's not yours.
That's probably not a joke. But despite knowing she was pregnant, she chose to come along on this dangerous revenge mission because I don't think the devs know how pregnancy works. This is beyond stupid, but believe it or not, there is a dumber pregnancy-themed moment to come. This character is almost pointless, and speaking of pointless, upon Ellie heading back out, this happens.
What the hell are you doing here?
I think I'd let you do this on your own.
So if you know nothing about this game, you probably won't know what's wrong with this, but if you've seen the trailers, you'll probably notice what they did. Originally, Joel appeared in this scene because they must have really wanted you to think he wouldn't die. I don't know if they realized this, but nobody expected Joel to die. They really didn't need to do this. It's by no means the worst thing they did, but it did piss off a lot of fans for no reason. Some of the more devout fans defended this, but in the end, I just don't get the point. They also took a lot of the flashback clips and put the main outfits on them, so you wouldn't think it was a flashback because I guess people would notice and suspect that Joel died, and we'll get to the important stuff soon enough, but the first flashback is plot irrelevant and mostly just walking.
It's time-consuming.
The second one does offer some gameplay, not enough to justify it, but the main purpose of this is so Ellie can question what happened, and Joel can boldly lie.
There's nothing that could help these people or anybody else. I know you wish things were different. I wish things were different. But they ain't.
Keep this in mind for the next flashback, because that will be something. Anyway, the objective now is to find somebody else to interrogate. A new enemy faction does get thrown in, being the Seraphites, because the gameplay has to be altered somehow. And upon locating Nora, we have a scene that is incredibly stupid, and a complete misunderstanding of how dark storytelling should be done. First off, as far as finding Abby's location, all she had to do is lie. There is no second person to confirm it, and the game already reminded us that method is a thing. They'll remind us again soon, so that's real stupid. But common sense is not a thing in this, and she instead insults Joel, which is completely unreasonable. She ends up being infected, but still won't talk, and I'm sorry, but is what happens next really what qualifies for good writing now? She tortures her, which you technically engage in, and why do we like this character? I get the idea is she's completely losing it, I'm not oblivious to that. I get that desolation is the direction they want to go in, I'm okay with that, but here's the thing. Upon heading back and telling them what she did, nobody even questions it. Nobody ever will question it. These two are by no means violent, they have no emotional attachment to Joel, so there's no reason to be okay with this. If one of them said, you know, this may not be the best idea, the blood of the person you're currently covered in may not have deserved what just happened, if anything like that was remotely implied, I guess it'd be okay, but to act like nothing happened, it just doesn't make sense. Some of you might be saying, but what about those God of War games you like? You play as a murderer in that game. The key differences between this and that is those games are taken a lot less seriously. Kratos is commonly called out for what he does. Very few people in those games like him. And most notably, those games are not walking simulators. You don't spend hours watching cutscenes, and the narrative is not the main focus. The reason why I can't forgive The Last of Us Part 2 is because they think the story is real deep. That's what people talk about here. The gameplay is good, but the narrative, that's where most of the attention went. It's not trying to be fun like God of War. It's meant to be serious. It's meant to be depressing. So when it just outright doesn't make sense, and they expect you to buy whatever the game does because people love these characters, I just don't accept that. That's obviously what they were banking on. Everybody loves Joel, so whatever Ellie does for revenge will be considered okay, but realistically, it doesn't make any fucking sense. And if you're gonna make me watch this many fucking cutscenes, I'm gonna expect the plot to make sense. This is compelled in the third flashback when Ellie finally demands to know what Joel did, and I am really sorry, but I wasn't crying here. I was laughing.
Making a vaccine would have killed you. So I stopped them.
Why was I laughing? Because this is considered deep writing. Again, I love how The Last of Us Part 1 ended, but this is not the direction it should have gone in. The reason I can't feel bad for Joel whatsoever is because he lied about it. And by lied about it, I mean proceeded to lie until he absolutely had no choice. If he could have kept lying, he would have done so, but now that he has to tell the truth, it's for some reason considered sad. Again, act like it's real, because that's what the game wants you to do. Act like this really happened. Would you really feel fucking bad for this guy? No. You'd feel bad for the thousands who died because of him, all the people he murdered, and enjoy watching him get his comeuppance. So, in my case, that's what I did. I love this scene. It's fun. The problem is, we already know it's not the end. Yeah, he tells Joel to fuck off forever, but we know his death is not the next time they'll meet. Dialogue we've already heard makes that obvious. Another flashback will confirm this later, but even now, it's apparent she forgives him. The scene means nothing, it's fucking stupid, and the saddest thing of all, even though Rockstar is an equally despicable company, they told the narrative that easily beats this in every conceivable way. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the true greatest narrative in gaming history. And if you think this bullshit is better, I just don't know what to say. Like I said, I hate this game, I hate it with a passion, and if you don't, you're probably in the wrong video. Her and Jesse head out to find them, and if you need more evidence that Ellie is despicable, this happens.
You heard them, right? They're talking about Tommy.
We don't know that.
Who else is it gonna be?
If it is him, he'll be gone by the time we get there. If we just
What if
fall.
he's in trouble?
He can take care of himself. The best way to help Tommy is to go after Abby.
I really hope you make it.
If you're so blinded by love for this character you can't see what just happened, she values revenge over saving Tommy with the excuse it'll help him somehow. Jesse refuses to call her out on this bullshit. It's basically more evidence to what I've been saying, and the stupidity doesn't end. We get to watch Ellie murder a dog, which we'll soon find out was quite friendly, so that's nice. And after locating Owen and a clearly pregnant Mel, she realizes Abby is no longer there, and upon getting some resistance, kills them both. Obviously, we don't currently know much about these two. We will later. But get this, she actually wasn't okay with killing a pregnant woman. She just didn't notice. Did she think she was real fat?
Well, you're pregnant.
What?
You're not pregnant?
No, I'm not pregnant.
And no, this is not the stupid pregnancy-themed moment I was talking about. That comes later. But yeah, Ellie does actually feel bad. However, in the next scene, she doesn't. Instead, she just complains about all the leads being gone, meaning the whole thing was apparently for nothing, and the pregnant woman she murdered is no longer a concern.
Hey. They got what they deserved.
What the fuck are you talking about? Does that include the dead baby? Did you even consider the possibility that in Joel's massacre somebody was killed that somebody else cares about? No, because we live Joel and that's that.
I don't know why.
Luckily, Abby shows up and kills Jesse. I disliked him the least, but whatever. And Ellie then says she understands why Abby killed Joel, but spoiler, it will mean nothing the next time we see them. And the reason I say that is because before we see how this concludes, we have to cut back in time to see Abby's narrative, which is interesting to say the least. Almost as interesting as the like button, which is something you can hit if you're enjoying. A lot of thought did go into this. So if you agree, you can do that, and subscribe down below. It is an option too. I'm not going to go over every detail of this. It's still packed full of dumbass walking simulator moments.
It's time consuming.
But it's definitely the best part of the game. In fact, it should have just been the game. They really could have just left Joel and Ellie alone, focused on somebody new completely, and that would have made for a much better game than what we got. Abby's story is actually good. It's not amazing, but it's intriguing enough. And starting out with her finding her dead father is one of the game's best moments. Showing us that he was actually conflicted about performing the surgery was a great idea, and if the other character wasn't named Ellie, I don't think that many people wouldn't be on Abby's side. No, that doesn't mean revenge is okay, but in this case, at least it's somewhat justified. Also, the most recent Last of Us Part 1 may have been a shameless cash grab, but at least they updated this scene to make it look like Abby's dad. Overall, this is a perfect scene, but upon coming back in the present, it's soon upended by some truly stupid shit. It may not be the Silent Hill 2 remake, but this is laughable. Again, to re-emphasize, because without the jacket it's even more apparent, we now know what this stupidity is. Women can't be sexy, so make them fucking ugly, and overall, muscular. Back in 2020, things still weren't good, but it wasn't as apparent that they were deliberately doing this, so it was confusing. It just goes to show how much things have changed. Anyway, we get to see their community, which as you can tell is quite big and well armed. And the reason I mention that is because at this point we see Mel is going to play a relatively big role. Aside from being fucking ugly, because why wouldn't she be? She's visibly pregnant. But that doesn't mean she won't go out with them, get into big shootouts, do a bit of plank walking, sustain an actual injury, because obviously she's the only person who can. Keep in mind the fact that she's pregnant doesn't affect anything, aside from her death being more sad later, even though after a few minutes nobody cares anyway. So why put something in the game that looks this stupid and defies any type of logic? If you're gonna make the game into a walking simulator, which a lot of this game is, it at least has to attempt to make sense. This moment is so stupid, I really don't know what they were thinking, and yes, this is what convinced me that they don't know how pregnancy works.
That was a lot of blood, right?
She shouldn't be out.
Really, was it the evil cult that brought you to that conclusion? You also get to play with the dogs you'll soon slaughter, so that's nice, I guess. But in my opinion, and I know this won't be agreed on, the Abby section is a lot more enjoyable. Yeah, there's the beginning and a lot of other parts you have to sit through, a lot of cutscenes doing stupid ass shit.
It's time consuming.
But it does feature a lot of unique areas like the rooftops, the island, and whatnot, along with an actual boss fight that is kind of terrifying. So really, it goes back to what I said earlier about how Abby should have been the main character. Eliminate Ellie and Joel completely, let that story stay the way it is, and make this more of a standalone sequel. Obviously, they're not gonna do that, but ignoring which character you like more, Abby was just given the more fun sections. Aside from her stupid appearance, she is a lot more interesting, and definitely more sympathetic. So if they just put all their effort into this, we may actually have a game worth playing.
I don't think we'd better, Dan. It'd be taking too much of a chance.
Unfortunately, a lot of this is focused around the love triangle nonsense between Abby, Mel, and Owen. As you can see, Owen has exquisite taste, but still, Owen is one of the few decent characters in this game. I'll admit he is kind of hard to not like, one of the few men who play a role that isn't dying, but as we know, he does still die, and I don't get the writing structure of this. Almost everything these characters do, we see after their death, which doesn't really help the narrative in any way. It's kind of like Beyond Two Souls, one of the few games I hate more than this. With that, you play through chapters in a random order for no reason, other than just because. But when it comes to the main characters dying, the idea that you'll be sad, in this case, that's kind of impossible as you don't even know them when that happens. All this does is make you not care at all, and that's simply not good writing. It could have been a truly sad moment, something this game has not had yet, but instead, they opted for what they think is unique, because if it's different, it's automatically good. They gave Abby a Fear of Heights, depicted in a flashback when she was slightly less ugly, and granted that does make the rooftop section a lot more tense, but the question still remains, how the fuck did they get on top the Ferris wheel? Back in the present, Owen's in trouble for something he shouldn't have done. What it is not important, and while trying to find him, she meets Lev and Yara, Seraphite siblings who help her kill their leader. She was in a scene, but in the process, Yara is severely injured, and the reason for this is because Lev defied their ways. Take a wild guess to what that might be.
I heard some of your people calling him Lily.
Of course that's the reason, because what else would it be? It's not like they can just write a character without something like this, because that basically covers the personality. In many ways, Abby and Lev resemble Joel and Ellie. I think that may have been the idea, but while Ellie was actually a good character, in that game at least, Lev is trans, and that's it. If you're offended by that, all I can say is, you shouldn't be. You should be offended that this shitty game is obsessively representing gay, trans, and I guess proud of how you look, because they can't fucking write. Also, Yara's ugly too, so there you go. She ends up leaving them, surely for good, and upon finding Owen, we have the greatest scene in any game ever, which, similar to the bear sex scene in Baldur's Gate 3, does not need to be censored, unlike the atrocity that was a bathing suit in Stellar Blade. Honestly, to all the streamers back in 2020 who had to pretend to be turned on by this, I pity you.
This is fucking sick.
So, through a series of events, they chop off Yara's arm. Mel tells Abby to fuck off because she's a bad person. Yeah, she did face her Fear of Heights to get the supplies, thus saving Yara's life, but that was to show off apparently, so it doesn't count. Also, Lev is upset about their hateful mother. It would seem Yara is also hateful.
But then he shaved his head. Like one of the men. First I screamed at him. I hit him. It was so stupid.
No, you don't get to apologize. Once hateful, always hateful. Haven't you heard the bigot sandwich line? I sure hope you die. Good. He runs off to find his mom, because this game portrays trans people as stupid. They also portray lesbians as murdering psychopaths, so to each their own, I guess. But in the end, Yara ends up dead, along with their leader Isaac, a potentially good character, but 2 scenes won't do it. And as you can see by the escape on horseback, it's undeniable that her section is far better. But upon returning to find the dead dog, and the love triangle dilemma essentially decided, it's time to do something. By that I mean she's not initially planning on killing Ellie, maybe she would have, but who cares. But in the end, it's Tommy's intervening that causes the ruckus, and no, he's somehow not dead from that. And I gotta say, I love how you play as Abby in this section. It must have pissed so many people off, and it's easily one of the game's best moments. Not so much gameplay-wise, it's more or less trial and error nonsense, but when you succeed, it's the highlight. I'll just let it play out for all the sensible viewers to enjoy. You know, I truly hate this game, but I am content in this moment. Dina then gets involved, and don't worry, we'll survive the arrow and getting her head bashed in, as will the baby. Logic is not a thing. And yes, people do complain that Abby does contemplate killing Dina, despite knowing she's pregnant, but I don't know, maybe after going through the events of this day, you might temporarily not think. Let's not forget, Ellie literally tortures somebody in this game, and despite all this, she lets Ellie live. She's fucking killed her boyfriend, a pregnant woman who was visibly pregnant, has no way of knowing the means of their death. It could have been execution style, but in this case, that's forgivable. Yet people still act like she's wrong. I really don't get it. However, even if you're against everything I've said so far, which you very well may be, the writing, the direction taken with the following events is just bad. Ellie and Dina live on a farm now, with the baby that somehow didn't die. How they escaped their predicament, I don't know, as we see Tommy sustain severe injuries. They were all kinda fucked up, but again, who needs logic? However, Ellie's still upset about Joel, not the pregnant woman she killed, and after a lot of boring shit, Tommy, who hasn't had enough agony, has tracked down Abby's location. The fact that she has a kid with her, who potentially needs her, is not important, but Dina tells her not to do it because she might die. As to the morality of this, that's not brought into question. She doesn't comment on the woman she tortured, the baby she killed. That was still all justified, but it wasn't successful, so maybe not do it again. She still leaves, even knowing it'll likely be the end of them. And I know the idea is she's so fucked up she's not using logic, but I'm sorry, this goes beyond that. We are again heading out to kill a mostly decent person with a kid who probably needs her after committing several other atrocities and losing your wife and baby in the process. Even if it did make some kind of sense, what's good about this? It's not a new concept, it wasn't interesting to begin with, and at this point, it's just repeating ideas. It's literally the same thing, rendering the barn section mostly pointless, and as you may have guessed, it featured a lot of walking.
It's time consuming.
We have another flashback showing us the bigot who said unforgivable things, and a rare moment when Ellie actually was mad at Joel.
Right.
I can't stay mad at you. Meanwhile, Abby and Lev get captured by a new enemy faction while trying to find the Fireflies, and after a bit of convenience, even too stupid for a video game, she finally locates them, willingly frees them, and says if she doesn't fight her, she'll kill Lev. That's right, threatening a kid with a knife. Probably means it. It's good, I guess. Also, the fight isn't exactly fair. Abby is half starved to death and doesn't have a knife, so don't really know why she made her fight. Could have just not untied her, but at least she gets her fingers bitten off, and that I enjoyed.
Hey, look at there. Didn't I tell you it was finger licking good?
In the end, Ellie is victorious, but decides not to kill her. I really don't know why. Kind of gave up a lot to be here. There is a theory that it's because she could have killed her, so it was within her control. She did state earlier that she hoped she was still alive, so technically it's a possibility. But honestly, I think this game just makes shit up. Anyway, that's that. We do get one other stupid flashback after finding out Dina did the right thing and left. It's basically the moment when Ellie decides, let's let the whole thing go. But the way they handle it is the final nail in the game's coffin.
If somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
Yeah, so again, I get the idea. If you watch the cutscene out of context, not knowing what they're talking about, it might sound okay, but if you realistically look at what happened, it doesn't. They wanted it to, but it doesn't. That's beyond unpractical. If Ellie had actually not forgiven him, it would have made the game slightly better. At least you'd have more of a reason to feel bad. Maybe. But if we look at the dialogue along with this cutscene, it's clear that when Joel died, this was kind of irrelevant. She'd already forgiven him, everything was kind of back to normal, so in the end, it really wouldn't matter if the first game even happened, aside from giving Joel a reason to be killed. But this is nothing but a disservice to the masterpiece the first game was. There are other ways they could have done it. Maybe have Ellie somehow meet Abby and assist her in avenging her dead father, not knowing who killed him, and possibly find out later. That's just an idea I thought about right now. There's plenty of others. Still think this should have been left alone, but what they chose to do was not interesting, overall lazy, and the easiest thing they could have done. It took no thought to do, and relied heavily on fans being devastated about their beloved Joel's death, fueling Ellie's revenge mission, even if it makes no sense, and is something you never realistically agree with. Characters like Jesse and Dina don't question any of it, which makes no sense. And like I said, I do still think the first game was an absolute masterpiece, but because it leads into this, I honestly like it a lot less. Being this story-driven, you have to look at the whole thing as one, and given that everything they did is thrown away to essentially destroy both characters, it's hard to like it that much now. It makes me fearful for the TV show's second season. Hopefully it won't copy this, but I've got a feeling it will, because anything even close to what they did here is just not gonna be good. I know this will be heavily disagreed with. Some people even consider this the greatest Naughty Dog game, which is truly sad. And like I've been saying, I don't care. I do try to be reasonable, but I hate this game. With a passion. It's awful. I despise it. I wish it didn't exist. Yes, the gameplay is great, but that means nothing when you have to watch as many cutscenes, and there isn't close to enough new gameplay to justify the length. Normally, if somebody can find enjoyment in something, I say good for them, but with this, whenever this bullshit is called out, I really couldn't be happier. Aside from maybe Beyond Two Souls, very few games disgust me more than this, and that's mainly down to the game's message, but I can't say that right now. Should give you a hint to what it is. But The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the worst narratives ever told, one of the worst sequels ever made, and that is a hill I will gladly die on. Those of you who don't agree, let me know in the comments. If it'll help you deal with the rage of hearing an opinion you probably don't like. Otherwise, like the video if you enjoyed, and consider subscribing. It'll help me a great deal. I'm the Game Analyst, and don't forget, revenge is... Do we even need to say at this point? Oh, what? You're actually here? That's fucking amazing. I guess you may as well check out the main channel, in which I discuss movies, TV series, and the offensive topics that lie within. If you're into that, then press the link in the description. It's right there.